Yesterday, I posted a blog about something that we've discussed, which is a stress management class. And so I thought we'd maybe go through a little bit of that before we actually go into the next room and start to move. And stress. There's a lot of it these days. And the stress management, in some sense, I mean, Aikido is a way of harmony. So stress, what is stress? It was defined to me as making certain things more important than they are. And so we obviously are in situations which are very real. But when we start to rebound back and forth in kind of our noisy mind area, the I, we tend to make something that's very, very important, more important even than it is. So when that happens, there's a tendency for the system, the physical system, to react. I'm diabetic, so I react to stress because the blood sugar rises. Sometimes it doesn't matter what I eat or whatever, it's just, okay. So that's an indicator. Some people develop blood pressure problems, and people, there are more insidious things, hypertension. So there are changes that we feel in our physical body state that are tied to making things even more important than they are. And one of my teachers, not an Aikido teacher, she was a naturopathic medicine. And her observation was, because we were talking about diet, and she said something to the tune of, it's not so much what you eat, it's what's eating you. Bingo. So we're sort of in a position right now where we have the coronavirus, we have the upcoming presidential election, we have a political social system that is very chaotic right now. And the social isolation, distancing caused by the pandemic really forces us. You know, we have normal ways of escape, you know, like you might go see a movie you've been waiting to see, but guess what? That's somewhat taken away, all right? Or going into a restaurant, we still do it. It's just that, you know, there's an area where, so, you know, what do? You probably watch Netflix a lot more than you want, as opposed to getting out and doing something. Or conversely, you know, you eat at home or you work at home. And some of that's good, but there's that sense where everything kind of is compacted in. And so what normally is flow is kind of compartmentalized in something kind of small. And when we're in that lesser state, a lot of things that are important, we give even more importance to. We don't even know it, okay? One thing that Do Sensei likes, he used to do the one by one. You take a step back, you take a step forward, back and forward, back and forward. Okay, then you get a little of balance with it. Then you start to take 2 steps back and 2 steps forward. And there's a level of balance there. And then you start to do 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Level of balance there. And what you kind of notice is you go from a 1 by 1 to a 2 by 3 to a 3 by 3. There's a shift. And that shift oftentimes is not just, we call, an attitudinal shift, but you find your carriage, your body, its feel of itself. And conversely, your mental, emotional, even spiritual sense of yourself also shifts from 1 by 1 to 2 by 2, 3 by 3. So that's the principle, what we call dimensionality. And so a lot of times, a lesser feels pressure. There's a lot going on. And when you're caught in that lesser, we start to make things more important than they are. And they may be important anyway. Social distancing, wearing masks, eliminating a lot of unnecessary travel is important. But it's possible we're in a 1 by 1 state. There's all this energy moving. So you expand that out to a 2 by 2. And that same energy movement when we're in the 2 by 2, which is a dimensional click. The energies are there. And what you find is that there's probably more clarity, more balance. And then there's motion. We go back into the 1 by 1. But with a little practice, maybe we say, oh, there's a 2 by 2. And we spend more time consciously in the 2 by 2 state than in the 1 by 1 state. And then there's 3 by 3, which even the 2 by 2 things don't push as much, but they still push. And 3 by 3, it's almost like there's a sense where there's a bit more balance. The only thing I have to say about Nadeau Sensei, he never goes much into 4 by 4, 5 by 5, which is where I, prefer to be. And he tends to kind of just take you 1 by 1 and 2 by 2 and 3 by 3 and maybe 1 by 1 by 2 by 2. And I guess that's just his pattern. He likes to do that with people. But there's a sense where there's energy on the move, and in the 1 by 1, it can push. 2 by 2, not so much. 3 by 3, the system's starting to recover some balance. I can function from a 2 by 2, and it's a lot better than being in a 1 by 1. But when you start to hit the 3 by 3 state, you can become more conscious. Your breathing is more experiential. Your sense of your body. 1 by 1, the heart's going like this. Noisy mind is real noisy. 2 by 2, things are starting to settle down a bit. 3 by 3, I kind of notice, and there's a 4 by 4, 5 by 5, 6 by 6, which at some point, the energies on the move push. So there's an equal possibility that we reach a level where those forces don't push. That we experience those energies on the move as a harmony. And the important ingredient of reaching that place where those energies on the move are in harmony is that there is a feeling of harmony in our system. And there's movement. So all of a sudden you think a crazy thought, you're back into the 1 by 1. But if we can start to realize, okay, there's a lot going on. And the term these days, it's been given a bad name, by the way. It's called magical thinking. It'll just go away. It's under control. And there's somebody that's saying that is creating what the world now terms fake news. And that fake news comes from magical thinking. I think of magical thinking a little different. As you go from a 1 by 1 into a 2 by 2. Your thought process settles down. This is very difficult. This is where real stress is, that 1 by 1. So to get the 2 by 2, at least you realize, okay, I can make myself sick. The news and the world situation is not making me sick. It's just my reaction to it. And then you may take a yoga class, or in better times, you go to an Aikido school. You start to kind of come from a 3 by 3. And there's beginnings of balance. So there's the beginnings of these forces. Instead of pushing the 1 by 1, the 3 by 3 person starts to be able to breathe, ground, center, have perspective, cope. There are a lot of words that describe the 3 by 3. So a lot of what I would do in the stress management class is we could use a variety of different things. Movement, sound, meditation, process. Those are a couple of things that would be ideal for a stress management course or class. And so when that happens, we would just be able to, one, work that process of a 1 by 1 to 2 by 2. But it's very important to get that sense of a 3 by 3. And we all have it. We all have it. We've all experienced times when we don't feel pushed and pushed. No, the forces of creation, the movement of the universe, is a dance. And we are aligned to that dance in a level of ourselves that dances with the dance. We are the dancer within the dance. The 2 by 2 can get things done. And when you're in a 2 by 2, there's the forces push a little bit more, you're back in the 1 by 1. But if we can make that shift from the 2 by 2 to the 3 by 3, maybe you get pushed back to a 2 by 2, but then you understand it's all a position. And if I get a little too small and a little too tight, I'm in that 1 by 1 where they really push. But if I can just stay easy, then I'm in that back into 3 by 3. Okay, so that would be my particular approach to a stress management class. We would work the different levels. You have to have sort of what we call a map. Nado Sensei, for example, is really good at mapping. If you look at O Sensei, he had his own maps. His 1, 4, 3, 8 is a map of creation. Traces the 1 that everything comes out of the source. 4 aspects of itself. The 3s represent the dimensional nature of the universe from here to here. And the 8 powers represent, according to that design, the forces of creation. And depending on where we are, we're in the 1 by 1, those forces can push. That's with the 2 by 2. We're a bit better, coping, 3 by 3. Getting some balance here so those forces don't push so much. I'm conscious, not maybe in an awareness sense, that there is a balance, a dance possible. That's why people go to Aikido. Okay, I'm going to get thrown, I throw, I like the movement. All of a sudden, that's pretty good. And pretty much what we would do is just state if we could make that shift from a 2 by 2 to a 3 by 3. But since it kind of went further, didn't it? 4x4 state. He stayed on purpose during World War II. Basically, from being very active pre-war, teaching military, police, running a school. All of a sudden, he's farming, northern Japan, in a hut with a mud floor. There's a dojo, but it's a bunch of sleepy kids. But he gets build an Aiki shrine, so he builds it. And he continues his process. So when the war ends, Aikido gets a charter to open because it's a martial art, not about the military sense of traditional Japanese arts, but an art that's supposed to bring peace into the world, or harmony, or whatever. So it had a very, very definite beginning because he was the beginning of it. He would insist that Aiki began at the beginning of creation. And then what happens, we come on in and get like this, and that harmony can't show here. So we go here, here. And ultimately, we want to go maybe 3 to 4. Okay? So that part of it is would be my particular approach to a stress management class. And again, this is knowledge, which everything starts as. But the 1x1 may have read a couple of books. The 2x2 is somebody who actually thinks about signing up for a yoga class or something, or maybe enrolling in a dojo. The 3x3 is somebody who continues to train. There are a lot of people that are Aikidoists right now, they're caught up in their 2x2. No dojo. That's okay, it's understandable. But let's say, what's the level 4 like? And it's experiential. If it's experiential, and you sort of get the sense, okay, I'm not 4x4. Ooh, a lot of push today. I'm in 3x3. On a real push day, I'm back into 2x2. And a real push day, I'm back into 1x1. But wherever you are, certain things, breathe, settle. The 2x2, 3x3. And if I want to be a little past where other people are, I make that click into the 4x4. So that's what my particular approach to a stress management class would be. In the 4x4, you realize the forces of creation, the movement of energy in the universe, came out of an original design that was loving and harmonious. 3x3 may understand that, but a favorite Nado Sensei word these days, but he can't partake. Goes to a dojo or a yoga class or an exercise class, which is good. They're not just gonna, or conversely, there is no group, so they'll do something online. They won't just sit around. Because what happens there is, you go back into 2x2, which means when things get real, you go back into a 1x1. And you blame everything on the world. The 2x2 is the one who either goes to a yoga class or a Pilates class online. But that shift from the 3x3 to the 4x4, the 4x4 is the experiential place. So I just thought what we do is go into the next room. And we would just kind of explore that with a variety of different methods. Okay? So let's make that move now. I use this a lot. Well, Sensei apparently had a, what do you call that, a stick, pointer stick to use. All right, and he could use that when he lectured and talked to the people who were his living students. But you could also use it as a sword, or use it as a spear staff, or it was many things, or a prayer stick. So this is my current favorite. I got about 2 or 3 others. Okay, this is just something I got at a local Ichibai Busan shop, martial arts supplies. And it's probably just an extremist stick, but it's good for inside. Okay, and I don't get too caught up in it. I'm gonna swing it, and the weight will make me stronger because it's very light. Okay, but we're gonna move. So here we are, and on a better day, I would have plugged the lighting in. We'll do that right now. And we are, and of course, on a better day, I set this up with the lens. So I'm going to put this down. So, ready? This lens allows me to be pretty full body, very close to the camera as opposed to moving all the way across the room. Is that about right? Right about here, I get a full body. Okay. And so we talked a little bit about the energies of creation on the move. And here we are, one by one. I feel a push. There's anxiety here. And we all got things to be anxious about. And on the other hand, just step one by one, step forward, step back, step forward, step back. Even the one with the anxiety starts to, maybe what I gotta do is just go out for a walk around the block. Okay. Whereas if I just sit here and stand here, those horses push. Like a little bit of balance. Or conversely, I might say, well, maybe I should do something like get some exercise. That's different than just sort of sitting there and be pushed. Okay. Now this level is something that we recognize. You wake up, you read the news feed. This is my entrance into creation for the day. All right? All right? And certain days will be a little better than others. But I'm kind of like a rat in a maze looking for cheese. I'll keep moving, but at this level, level 1 does not know. There is no cheese in the maze. It's going to keep looking for cheese. Okay? So everybody kind of has a feel for that. That's called anxiety. As energy builds for this one, there's things like frustration. As it really builds, on a bad day, there's anger. So what are we going to do with that one? Realize that's a position. Okay, now it's just going to be easy right there. And that just means what it says. I'm not going to try to make that one. That one may decide to do something, but to be honest with you, what'll happen is, oh yeah, I signed up for a yoga class, but I'm just too busy. And I can't even get there, even though I signed up for it. Or I'm thinking about doing Aikido, but gee whiz, you know, I gotta get to the school, I gotta buy an outfit, and I gotta pay dues every month, and so easy. That would exist in all of us. And what happens right there, there's not so much that one gets better. But all of a sudden, there's a gateway. And it just can be a momentary sense of calm, or breathing a little deeper, fuller, or maybe a flash of what grounded feels like, something like that. And then we're just going to go into a 1, 2, a 1, 2, a 1, 2, a 1, 2, 1, 2, a 1, 2, 1, 2, a 1, 2. And this is where maybe, you know, I haven't done anything yet, but I'm starting looking for maybe taking a yoga class or an exercise class, or maybe it's time to do a martial art. Maybe I like Aikido. So getting enough balance to realize that maybe I can't do much about the world, but I can do something about me. Maybe I start reading self-help books. Or maybe I start to think about a better diet. Maybe I shouldn't live at McDonald's. Okay? Beginnings of balance, more of an idea of balance. But we're starting to calm down a little bit. And when the forces push, I'll be back into 1 by 1. But this is staying out of the 2 by 2 state. And those of you that are watching, I just want you to actually move. So I'm getting ideas. And a lot of people right here, when the forces push, they go back to the 1 by 1. They have a little bit of balance, they get things done, but they feel kind of essentially powerless. But all of a sudden, the 2 by 2, there's the tensor right there. The 1 by 1 pulls, guys spend so much time. But the brave souls, they hang out. Yeah, there's a whole world out there that I've been missing called self-improvement. And I'm thinking about it. Maybe my diet should change. Maybe more exercise, maybe a yoga class. Maybe something called Aikido, or I hear Tai Chi can be very good. Man, I'm getting enough balance here. A lot of interesting ideas, okay? And I'm balanced enough to say, yeah, those are possibilities. Now, 3 by 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay? Now there's more space for the 3 by 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So right about here, you know what 3 by 3 is? You signed up for the yoga class, whether it's an actual yoga class or virtual class. Or, you know, this is hard to do these days because I think it's very difficult to do a beginning Aikido class online, although we may at some point venture into that. Okay. Or in better times, instead of thinking about signing up for an Aikido class, you sign up. One time the docent that was talking to his meditation group about the difference between idea and energy. Let's just use the example. Okay, somebody's thinking about signing up for Aikido. That's the idea. Okay, there's energy in the idea. The actual sign up, that's energy. And then after you signed up, you can go back into the 1, 2, which is, yeah, maybe I should do yoga instead of Aikido. But all of a sudden, say, yeah, there's ups and downs here. Or my body's kind of sore. You do a lot of falling and stretching. But they're in the 3 by 3. So yeah, there's going to be ups and downs, and good classes and frustrating classes, but they're in the 3 by 3. And yeah, there's still the coronavirus and a pandemic going on. And yes, our president is still president. There's a lot of things out there. What does a 3 by 3 person do? Okay, so that's a rough guideline right there. So I'm not saying, okay, now there's this and that, and I'm under pressure because of A, B, C. I'm really tracking me through about 3 dimensions. So I thought what we do, anybody with a question or comment on that? If you were moving along with me, then that's fine. If you didn't realize that that was a possibility, then we may quickly go through the 1, 2, 3. Okay? So anybody with a question or comment? If you are, just speak up or wave your hand.
Just a comment, Sensei. Just the walking back and forth and the different numbers by numbers. It for me was relaxing, really simple, focused on my balance. It was good.
Yeah, you can do that if you want to. You can wake up and do a Tai Chi set or do yoga, but you can also do a 1 by 1, 2 by 2, 3 by 3. Okay. That's the important thing is a lot of times we're very passive, and some days we'll just wake up, we'll be in the 2. Not for whatever reason, my mood is a little better, But a lot of times we wake up and we're just in a one by one. And we feel the energies of creation pushing us. Okay? And so at that particular point, what do? We're very passive and we just stay in that state. And then they push, and then all of a sudden there's stress. So if I can at least go from a 1 by 1 to a 2 by 2, 2 by 2 is for me. Now the Do Sensei may totally number it differently, but 2 by 2 for me is like 1 by 1, I can't see the forest for the trees and I keep bumping into trees. All right? And some days I hit the trees harder. Okay, and a real bad 1 by 1 goes into a -1. There's a negative number line. 1 by 1, you're running around and you're bumping into trees looking for the forest. And on certain days, every move is hitting a tree. And if I don't watch it, I'm in a -1. There's a -2, a -3, okay? So we want to stay at least, the real number line in the positive, okay? 1 is pretty ordinary. 2, my consciousness starts to shift in that I see possibilities, but they're ideas. But, if I'm thinking about self-improvement, that's better than just sort of bumping into trees all the time, getting frustrated and angry. And yeah, maybe yoga will help my blood pressure. Maybe meditation will give me better focus at work. You see what I mean? So, that's the 2 by 2 level. It's important. Okay? And then the 3 by 3 is really an important one because it's the 3 by 3 person that either signs up for self-improvement, begins that, or conversely, continues to practice. You can go to a couple of classes, think Aikido was great, then your life goes crazy. We bumped into those people when the dojo's open. Yeah, I tried your classes, I really liked it, but I got so busy, or this happened or that happened, now I'm back. Well, that's good. They're still, they went back into 2 by 2, but then they reconnected with their 3 by 3. Okay? Or conversely, you're turned off by the lack of dojo training and you really can't get into the online. But then again, the 3 by 3 says, I'm back. And let's see what's here. That's a 3 by 3. If you stay in the 2 by 2, you're going to go back into the 1 by 1. The 1 by 1 to 2 by 2 is most people. But if you can get the 2 by 2, get the flavor for it, that's the idea state, which is having a little bit of a shift on your own well-being state. But the 3 by 3 is a crucial one. And if you're new, you sign up at an Aikido school when it's open, you're going to probably be sore from falling and training and everything like that. But there's something, it's not just an idea, but there's energy through your system. And so you are forging or creating yourself at that level. And that gives you a possibility, which we'll go into a little bit later, for the 4 by 4. Okay, so any Bonnie, is that kind of what you're picking up on some level, or? Okay, good. Anybody else? Okay. Now, what we can do, I'm going to shift back to the big screen. I'm using this, but yeah, we can. Okay. Okay, so let's just say we're 1 by 1. You get a sword. And I know I'm supposed to do this, but I swing it too much, my shoulders hurt, my fingers ache. But I'll persist for a while, and then I'll just totally, So I got the, and I mean, I'm kind of Yeah, I know. You're supposed to swing it. Okay, I'm getting exercise, I know, you know. So, what a 2x2? Well, a 2x2, for example, understands the importance of proper grip. Starts to pay attention to the movement a bit more. But when the 2x2 starts to get some energy, the 2x2 tends to get pushed out there with it. And of course, I'm getting more energy. Yeah, I'm doing some exercise from this. Okay, that's 2x2. And I may have questions about whether I'm doing it right or how good I look or if I look stupid and all of a sudden I'm back into 1x1. So you can use this now. But I'm a little bit more present in the 2x2. If I'm kind of marginally 2x2, I get pushed back into the 1x1. There's a level 3 or 3x3. And the feeling for me with that 3x3 is not just an idea. You come out of an airplane, of course, these days, flight, things like that, but your ears pop, don't they? Or all of a sudden, you're in a cycle of stress, and all of a sudden you take a deep breath and get some perspective. So there's a tangible thing, and everybody finds their own way to it. Okay? The 3x3, boom, boom, boom. Realize there's a harmony or balance. There's an up and there's a down. And I begin to realize that as I get that up and down a little better, then my own body starts to kind of feel things like ground, leaning into it. Starts to feel that there's a center here in a center line that the cut goes up and down to. So, the energies of creation, as I open to the 3x3, I said, there's a harmony. Boom. I can't do much with it, but I realize, this is not just getting exercise or doing what I'm supposed to do if I'm a martial artist or an aikidoist. That this can have almost a meditative quality to it. That's the 3x3. Now, what happens sometimes is I hear a whistle out there, and I'm back in the 2x2 trying to get better. And the 3x3 person, when you ground it, kind of stays within themselves. So I want to be the best in the class or something like that. That's okay. So that's just a rough out. You can use the Bokken. Anybody with a comment or statement, question? So we're going through 1, 2, 3. This is stuff. You know, it is a, you can do it with walking or stepping, you can do it by swinging. Okay,
Sensei, just a comment, with you talking and going through this, it's easy to get into the zone and feel through this, so.
yeah. You know, I mean, you know, the whole thing is being able to realize where most people are. And, you know, you can be in a 1x1 and be an 8th degree black belt. You know, in other words, everybody has periods, no matter what their accomplishment is. There's movement back and forth. So training has a lot to do with, you can be a 10th degree black belt. I used to watch Hikizuchi Sensei have an argument with his wife because the wife opens the door and there's a vacuum cleaner salesman. And Hikizuchi Sensei gets angry and kicks the guy out. And then it turns out the wife wanted to hear about the vacuum because she felt that they were being a little too cheap and needed a new vacuum. So they have an argument right in front of me. That's pretty, and he's a 10th degree black belt, it was at that time. So anybody, doesn't matter what your title is, there's movement, okay? And I wouldn't even say that was a 1x1. I would say that was a -1. And Master Choi, my Tai Chi master, you know, he'd be doing all this beautiful stuff, and then he and his wife would have an argument. You know, because I mean, you know, she didn't practice, but she had a lot of ideas about what he was doing in front of the class. So she would say something, and you knew they were going at it when they would switch from English to Cantonese. So none of us knew, but you know, in the longtime students, they used to call that the situation comedy, because there's the master, right? And there he is having an argument with his wife right in front of his students. No, I mean, you know, just because you have a title or a number doesn't mean you can track yourself. Okay? Anybody else with a question or comment on that? So we covered, you know, yes, a Cliff?
Just that, as you know, Sensei, parenting has a way of dragging you around this.
That's
on a
correct.
regular basis.
That is correct. Yes, life pushes. And you can be a 10th degree black belt at this, and you can be a white belt at parenting. It's very, very, you know, this is why, you know, when Osensei talked about development, you know, I mean, yeah, we're a variety of different levels. But you see, if you get a certain thing, everything can be practice. It can be training. It can be development. The big word around Hikizuchi Sensei was called Shugyo. And that basically translates as inner development. And so in Shingo, every day seemed like there was a new spiritual crisis. That was just the way it was. And there were very brief, ephemeral moments of incredible beauty and vision. And the rest of it was totally crazy. I used to, you know, when I finished from that phase of training, you know, the Buffy the Vampire series, the town she was in, Sunnydale, whatever it was called the Hellmouth. And a friend of mine was talking about a teacher that was insisting Shingo was the Aikido paradise. And I said, no, for me, it was the Hellmouth. In other words, you know, if you were in a lesser, you got pushed. Okay? And so, you know, you had to realize it was somewhere between that and the rare moments where there was beauty and the type of transcendent feeling. And they were both side by side. Now, partially what we're saying is there are gradations of that in that larger space, and we'll just fill them in a little bit more. As we fill them in, there won't be these extremes. I don't remember Shingo as being an Aikido paradise. I remember studying with Hikizuchi Sensei as being a constant spiritual check on myself, which I mostly failed. And you know, the most dangerous times is when you are the star pupil, because everybody right there hits a zone and there is the fall. And it's what you do after that. Okay? So anyway, anybody else with a question or a comment? Okay, let me check the time. Yeah, we're actually moving along in this. What we could do, let's use the swinging. So let's just say, okay, we go to, after a while, you're, okay, I know I'm going, yeah, I got to do this, you know, I get up in the morning and swing 500 times, okay, right? Or conversely, yeah, okay, now at least I know how to hold, and yeah, I'm still out there trying to be something. And the level 3, you know, gets the information, starts to realize it's just, okay, it's not about, per se, what I'm supposed to be. All right, so the level 3's got a bit more balance, and the energies don't push quite the same way. But, you know, the energies push all of a sudden back into some level of a 2 headed towards a 1. So, let's just say on a rare day. And for me, that has a tangible feeling, the shift from 3 to 4. All of a sudden, my head clears. All of a sudden, we're in a perpetual fog. I went to UC Davis graduate school, you know, after Santa Cruz. And they had what's called Thule fog, which means it's very dense right around there, at the ground level. And all of a sudden, you know, you go back to Santa Cruz and the air is clear. There's a shift, you know, you're in a different place. So for me, my head clears. Or some days it's just like, woo. Or I start to feel my breathing start to even out and deepen. All of a sudden my feet feel like not just I'm grounded, but they're kind of part of the ground. So I know I'm kind of on the way from a 3 to a 4. Okay, all right. Okay, and right about 4, certain things start to make sense. Like Go Sensei says, you know, he says, boom, strike like thunder. In level 1, those are words, and I'm just going to keep doing this till I get tired and sloppy. Level 2, I like the poetry of it, but I'm a little too dreamy with it. Or conversely, I just decide if I work harder, I'll be a better level 2. Level 3, kind of is easy with it. This is a stage of development. But as that stage starts to get a little easier or more open, and again, there's that area where there is for me a click. Boom. Okay. So anybody with a comment? Anybody follow what I'm saying? That area that shifts from 3 to 4. That's a major one. Anybody?
So I had, I think, a moment of 4
Okay.
where I wasn't just like, you know, me swinging and in harmony with the environment. It was like I kind of stepped back and I just saw the whole environment. I'm just like one part of it.
Yeah.
Like,
Okay.
like there's a whole bunch of stuff happening and I'm doing this and other people are doing that. And I was kind of looking at it all, but then it sort of collapsed back very quickly.
Initially, you get an in and out between the 3 and the 4. Okay, so part of training is realizing that's the step. You get a taste of 4. You're in the right place. Now 3, trying to be 4 gets in the way of it. So you're okay. If you wake up in a level 1, cursing the president and everything like that, that's where you are. Just be easy there. Okay. Just be easy. There's a shift then. You know, you realize it too. You know, you have a little bit of the beginnings of perspective. 3, that's an area where you cope and you take positive action. Instead of thinking about taking a yoga class, you actually sign up and do a yoga class. All right. Now there's movement back to 2, where you kind of wonder whether it's something you really want to do all the time, or whether you should look for something else like Pilates or Aikido or Tai Chi, or you see, and that's endless. But if you're grounded in 3, you realize you get glimmers of, let's say, something called a 4. Now, where are you? You're in the right place. But 3 never becomes 4. Those flashes become more the norm. And for me, there's you begin to notice that very important shift from 3 to 4 is like your ears pop when you leave an airplane. All of a sudden, the space shifts. Too much noise, but I'm coping. That's a 3. I'm doing something positive about the noise. That's a 3. And all of a sudden, oh, what's this? And there's probably 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so but a major one, you go from 1 to 2. That's good. But then when you go from 3 to 4, that's a pretty major one. Some people just a 1 to 2. They have an idea. They start to line up at a 1 to the 2. Then they go after a while. Okay, they go from 3 to 4 very quick. So the 1, 2, 3, 4 becomes a 1, 2. In fact, Nadeau Sensei was talking to me once about how he used to go 1, 2, and then all of a sudden he freezed until he realized that he was all of a sudden getting a 1, 2, 3, 4. And what was the 1, 2, 3, 4? It was a more complete 1, 2. Go 1, and then I'm going 2. Wait, that was pretty good. And all of a sudden, oh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Ah, okay. Ooh. So you get breakthroughs like that. And then, basically, you on your computer says shortcut 2. You don't skip anything because you've done the work. You have a shortcut. Okay. So yeah, you can go from kind of a negative, going from negative to an upper is very, very difficult. But you're around somewhat of a 1 by 1, 2 by 2. And then all of a sudden, 3 is not that far away. And as you get hanging with the 3, there's a flavor to 4. And so after a while, that becomes your guide. And everybody's going to number it differently. Everybody is going to have their own way of viewing this as a process. If I write a book, you may read the book, and you may go, oh, yeah, that helps. Or conversely, we could be different enough that what I'm telling you works for me may not work for you. You gotta find your own. So we're going to move into the kitchen again. Saving on electricity. We are going to move back. Okay. So, anybody with a question or statement? So we just went through some of the stuff we might cover in a stress management class. Okay. See, when I'm in a lesser, the energies of creation, the movement of the universe tends to push. As I learn to go dimensionally finer with who I am, then what happens is there's a harmony to things that's very difficult to pick up here. You get a bigger piece of it here because you get a bigger piece of it here, and there's a pretty major shift. You go from a 3 to a 4. But each shift, we notice our sense of what's out there is different, but it's more elusive to realize what's happening is our sense of ourselves is also different. Don Juan put it very well to Carlos Castaneda. He just said once that when you can do something that you couldn't do before, the only thing that's really changed is your idea of who you are. And so, you might be in a 1-by-1 and you say, I can't do that. But after a while, you say, I can't do that when I'm in a 1-by-1. So maybe what I can do is say, okay, what is a 2-by-2? It's a reaction to what the 1-by-1 can do. And conversely, what's the 3-by-3's sense of what the 1-by-1 would do? And then all of a sudden, maybe there's that place where you go from a 3 to a 4. There's certain things I'm probably never going to do, like dunk a basketball or hit a triple high C on the trumpet. Okay. Am I interested in either of those? Probably not. But it's like, okay, I'll go to the gym. I'll just get some weightlifting equipment in here, and I'll just work my lower body to where I can go up there and I can dunk. I think there are people my height, which I topped out probably at 5'6", that could probably dunk. I'm just not one of them. And I don't know if any of them at age 72 are dunking anyway, or if they do, what the consequences would be, right? And so that part of it is tricky. Anybody with a question or a comment on what we covered today? Anybody with notice something about what a 2-by-2 is or a 3-by-3? Anybody? You don't have to, by the way.
Since this is Bonnie,
Yes.
I felt like I was in the flow and maybe didn't notice the transitions as well, but thinking or back to it or looking back to it, maybe as things just started clicking together and flowing together, I think I felt the difference of the different phases, the
Mm.
2x2, 3x3, and maybe I was briefly in the 4x4 as a moment of, okay, I'm doing something, and that something can continue in a more easy state as I can redirect my intention or focus to where I choose to, if I chose to.
Well, that's what happens is that things like choice. Choice, level 3 is the beginnings of choice. We don't really have choice until about a good level 4. That's just my observation. Maybe it's a personal one. Choice is a constant, but I'm in a 1x1. I'm too boxed in and too pushed. I'm too confused. 2x2, I have a little bit more space, but I'm locked into something. 3x3, I might start to read self-help books about choice and taking control of my life because I feel pushed around and I know I'm better than this. 4x4. I mean, 3x3 is beginnings of choice. 4 is, I can choose to be calm in this situation. Or if I'm really that way and I'm being pushed, I'm going to channel that energy into something and do a bunch of junk that I've been procrastinating because I got some juice. And if I'm pushed by it at a 4, there's a lot of power there. So maybe I ought to waste a day, if I'm a creative person, and just do normal stuff and get certain things posted that need to be posted and get certain things done. As opposed to be an artist that feels a certain way. So energy sometimes, you are that, we're all that way. I'm in choice. Yeah, I've got a lot of juice and I could be destructive with this. So I'm just going to be easy. I'll channel it into some lesser things that I've been procrastinating on. Now, I'm not going to use it to hurt anybody or hurt anybody more than I have. Okay? That's choice. I mean, this is a lot about warriorship because the difference between a soldier and a warrior. Soldier's on the side. A warrior has choice. Was watching, I think it was the second Captain America movie where, he was in quote unquote the last good war, World War II. Then he's frozen and he comes out into the present world and he's operating for SHIELD. And he's done all these missions and he realizes that there's so much crap going on. After a while, he doesn't know what side he's on. And so, he has a private moment with the woman he was in love with, and she's 90 years old because she, hasn't been chemically enhanced and frozen in hibernation. And they have this thing, and he says, I just don't know what side I'm on anymore. I just don't know. I'm sending out all these missions. I find out all these submissions and submissions, some of the submissions, and I'm kind of the vanguard that makes everybody look good. But there's a lot of stuff going on underneath me that I'm not okay with. So I don't know what side I'm on anymore. I'm not representing, the United States against the forces of Adolf Hitler or the Red Skull. That's pretty easy. That was the last good war. He's a soldier. And then, he has to make some choices. And, that's the thing about being a warrior in the Don Juan mold. Not a basketball player. Not a fighter, but a warrior, is that you choose your battles. And, Don Juan put it, everything's your last battle. If you can do that, which is very challenging, which I fail at regularly. And one time he tells Carlos, if this is your last battle on earth, why are you wasting on that crappy mood you're in? When everything's your last battle, you're light, you're fluid, you're free, because it's your last battle. And then there's the next one, maybe, and the next one, and the next one. But each one of those is your last battle. And that's being a warrior. And we all get caught up in, one reacting to the forces pushing us. And the thing that Carlos says, I think, in one of the early books is, I'm a leaf at the mercy of the wind. And Don Juan said, absolutely not. And sometimes when you're in the level 1, you feel like you're a leaf at the mercy of the wind. All right? And then when you're a 2, you're somewhat aware of the fact that you have something to do with the level that the wind pushes you. And you maybe have an idea like yoga or Aikido or Pilates or taking up meditation or maybe a Tai Chi class okay? And then the level 3 is the one that doesn't just think about it, but actually chooses to sign up or practice. And a lot of people go from 3 back to 2, look for things. Or if it's really bad, like the pandemic, they go all the way back to 1. So what it is a little bit, that shift from 3 to 4. And the way Don Juan puts it, says a warrior can go back and forth on things. But when they decide, that's it. And what happens is a warrior acts. So thinking about signing up, they sign up. Instead of, I don't like the online stuff, I miss the dojo and I'm too busy anyway. They make time. That's choice. So when you use the word choice, that's a powerful word. That's 3 going to 4. You don't have any choice when you're a lemming that's going to run into the sea, just following the herd. That's why, our fearless leader uses the term herd immunity. Yeah, dictators want that. They want their herd. What happens with a revolution? And I'm not talking about a war or anything, but I'm talking about a revolution in consciousness. You are not a member of a herd. If you decide to run into the ocean, it's because that's your choice. It may be an unusual choice. And maybe you're an amphibious lemming. We don't know. You have a superpower, we don't know. Or it's a choice. And I watched part of, what was it? I was sort of on the Captain America binge, so I got the shirt on, right? And so I watched the first part of Civil War, which is, I think, the 3rd Captain America movie. And there's the whole thing, okay, do we allow the United Nations to control the activity of the Avengers? And Tony Stark feels guilty, so he absolutely wants that. And Captain America is very different. He just says, look, I don't want an international agency even to govern my sense of what's right and wrong. If I feel like something needs action, I want to act. And it's really a microcosm of just politics. But when you're driven by guilt, you're not in choice. And so it's amazing to me. I used to, I found out Marvel was going to do Captain America. I thought it won't go. America's too crazy right now. But lo and behold, Captain America is really the spirit of America. He represents democracy. He represents, really what it is. It's not just about following the herd or being a part of the proper herd. It's really, that's what we're all supposed to be. And towards the end of The Winter Soldier, he finds out, the reason he's so upset with being a member of SHIELD is the fact that SHIELD is just a cover for the organization he fought in World War II, Hydra. Hydra is just masquerading as SHIELD, so everything's kind of crazy. And so, he basically, just talks to everybody and says, look, you can follow me or not. This is me right here. And so a number of people that can either give in to SHIELD and let SHIELD rule, or they can follow quote unquote captain's orders. And a lot of people choose to follow captain's orders. That's choice. There's a lot of good stuff in that stuff, even though it's superhero drama and everything, because we are at a point where we need to make that shift from 3 to 4 and be in choice. And, so that movie was interesting, we were responsible for the deaths of so many people because we had an accident. The UN wants to patrol us and control us, and take the responsibility off of us. And Iron Man, who feels guilty, says we should sign the accord. And Steve Rogers says, no. I don't want any organization to take my choice of whether to act or not away from me. And so he refuses to sign it, which sets up the whole Civil War, all right, which is not, it's just within the group of the Avengers and the superpowered beings. But, that part of it is really very, very moving. Because as a nation, this is what democracy is. It's about choice. Now, our choices are somewhat limited. And, this isn't a political statement, but, we have a choice primarily of candidate A or candidate B. It's a choice. One of them has created a herd. And so I'm going to vote for the other one. Not because I hate the herd guy. It's just, that's dangerous. So my response to it is I'll vote for candidate B, now A as opposed to B, the herd guy. That's just me. So, the Aikido, I mean, is there stress? Yeah, who's going to win? What if candidate B wins? What am I going to do? Move to Canada or whatever it is? That's level 1. Even to decide to move to another country. And I'm not that way. If you are pushed by guilt or fear, you're not in a 3. You're in one of the lower levels. And so part of, just dealing with the stress is understanding, how to deal with the push at the lower levels, which is you find your balance and you shift to the next, where those pushes are not quite so compulsive. I can't be in choice when I'm pushed by fear or guilt or frustration. And about a 3, I'm starting to get some balance. So that would be my particular approach to a course that we might do on stress management. It really is about Aikido and what people can do. Sensei talked about something he called the true Aikido. And then, he taught all these moves that he really re-embellished with something quite unique that came out of jujitsu or Aikijitsu, or Daito-ryu Aikijitsu. And so, you know, for me, so many people say we're losing the traditional. And Hitsuchi Sensei, the one great gift he gave me was the tradition in Aikido is Takemusu. See, when you are in choice, you're not necessarily free, but you are free to choose. And you or me are not being forced into a decision by what's outside us. And so the whole thesis of democracy really is that each member of that democracy has within themselves a type of one moral and emotional code, seeks to be able to add an intelligent choice to the group, not the herd. The herd has no choice. A herd is a herd. The herd is herded that way, they go that way. The herd is herded that way. And we don't want chaos. That's the whole thing. You know. But when we find this place, hopefully, choice happens. And choice isn't easy, and choice isn't always a panacea or an immediate solution. But to have choice, you have to sort of know who you are. And as you go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, you start to orient more around who you are as opposed to the push of the forces out there. In fact, as we go a little bit more, those forces can even guide us. You see, well, Sensei left Tokyo, went to northern Japan. He had a mission there. It's a continuation of his mission to follow through choice with the forces of creation were laying out as a path for him to fulfill his mission. Tokyo is too crazy. Go somewhere where you can develop here a bit more. There'll be a time for you to come out and spread the quote unquote, the true Aikido. Not just a fun form of ancient jujitsu or Aikijitsu, but, you know, give people the tools to be in choice. And yeah, the choice might not be a popular one. Sometimes that happens. Muhammad Ali, I remember in the 60s, he was Muslim. He refused the draft. He was labeled a pariah. Other sports personalities really just reviled him. He was stripped of his title. Guess what? He held firm to his choice, didn't he? And he's Ali. More recently, the 49ers had a Super Bowl quarterback that for whatever reason was kneeling on the national anthem. Okay. They didn't re-sign him. The league wouldn't touch him. He's out of football. But he laid the foundations for things like Black Lives Matter. Very important. And sometimes you are able to say, okay, I've got a pretty good situation here. All he had to do was say, I won't kneel anymore. And some NFL team would have signed him. He was a Super Bowl quarterback. Didn't win, but it was that close. And all of a sudden, he's out of football. But people like that. Now he's being mentioned along with Ali. Okay? Stephen Curry, you know, has been stepping up. I mean, LeBron gets a little bit more publicity because, you know, he's in the finals and everything like that. And actually, like a lot of LeBron's activism. But Curry, is doing interviews. He's a lot quieter about his activism, but for me, he's not speaking from the mountaintop. He's kind of down here with us, kind of showing us, that it's okay to act from a quieter, more humane place. And I like the fact that LeBron is sticking his neck out. But I also appreciate Curry doing things like really doing one-on-one with Dr. Fauci, just to, because the whole thing is he exposes the younger generation that he has a tie to something that they need to hear. And so, those things sometimes we take for granted, but if you have a platform these days, you have a responsibility somewhat to be more than just somebody who dribbles a basketball. And LeBron has taken the mantle. He's just got a different management style. And Curry has in his own way. By and large, the NBA is definitely the most progressive league for that. And you can say, just dribble, shut up, which has been put out there. But if you're an American, Captain America could have just kept his mouth shut and just been a part of Hydra masquerading as S.H.I.E.L.D. But he didn't. And all of a sudden he found out that basically most of the non-Hydra S.H.I.E.L.D. members followed Captain's orders, not S.H.I.E.L.D.'s threats. And so that movie is actually kind of a good one. Okay. Anybody else with a question or whatever? I didn't mean to turn it this way. I'm thinking that, we have a possibility of nights. I would just try a one-shot stress management class, see what the response is. And we're starting a new Tai Chi beginning course sequence, not on Wednesday, but on Monday, the 9th of next month. So I posted that on Facebook. And so that'll just be the 30 movements. So if you know of anybody or you are free on a Monday night, you're an active member of Aikido San Jose, you can repeat that course. The Wednesdays following the end of the current beginning course, what I'd like to do is go into a 4-week class for those who would like to take the 54 movements, no, the 30 movements into the next stage, which is the 54 movements. The 30 movements are hard because there's very little repetition. When you do the 50, you're learning a longer sequence, but a lot of the moves repeat. So, it seems like, oh my God, that's a pretty big jump for 4 weeks, but I kind of mapped it out. And I said, no, this is doable. Okay, so we're gonna try to do that. So Tai Chi, a new beginning course. So if you're interested in repeating it, that's good. Repetition of the basics. Like there's different learning of form and actually getting into the experience of what the Tai Chi is. And the repetition is somewhat crucial for that. Other than that, I'm just too drifty or too vague or too out there. But we will be going into the 54, hopefully, if there's enough interest, on Wednesday nights. And then, so I thought that, the best place to try a stress management class, I haven't gotten a date for it, would be a Thursday night. There's no jujitsu, so the old dojo, we have the jiu-jitsu, we had the Tuesday, Thursday jiu-jitsu, which tended to kind of cut into the Aikido, okay? And also we had jiu-jitsu, it seems like either once or twice a month on Saturdays. We don't have that anymore. So, that's one of the blessings of the pandemic schedule. So I'm thinking Thursday night would be a chance to try a stress management class. Any feedback? Anybody want to mention? So we kind of went through basically what I would do. I mean, we can do more extended periods of just sitting. There are styles that we can do. And there's also sound. The 1 by 1, 2 by 2 is kind of a good 3 by 3, 4 by 4 is a really good thing because you're moving, okay, which is good. And so that part of it, I'm thinking we'll pick a date on the Thursday night and we'll just try it and see if there's interest. Okay, because since he talked about the true Aikido, he wasn't talking about updating and rescaling what was ancient jujitsu or Aikijitsu. He's talking about the true Aikido. Okay, and one of the realities of modern life is stress. So can we do both? Can we learn certain, tricks of the trade, so to speak, to at least start to manage our stress? And then maybe when we start to hit the 3 to the 4, we start to tap that energy. So instead of being pushed by the energies, all of a sudden we are kind of in harmony with them and they feed us. That was where our sensei was. Okay? So anyway, I'm going to call it for today. So I thank you all for tuning in. Okay? And so, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sensei. All right. So I was busy typing just now. Thursdays are best for me. Wednesdays I can do, obviously, because I'm doing Tai Chi. Although there's a reading series I duck out of every Wednesday to do that, but I could do it. Tuesdays, I have PTA half of the Tuesdays. And I'm the secretary and have to take notes, take minutes.
All right.
So Wednesday and Thursday is great. The 54 movement thing on Wednesdays is fine. The stress management on Thursday will be low stress for me because I can do Thursdays. And
That's a good start.
I'm gonna go ahead and sign up for the 3rd round of the 30 movement on Mondays, but I'm not gonna take it. I'm gonna watch the videos afterward and do it on my own.
Okay.
Because I can't do Mondays. I have choir rehearsals.
Okay. Thank you.
That's me.
Yeah. Thank you. And Bonnie, I got